Jonathan Isaac, lots to talk about today. Welcome to the Christian Post. Now, I want to dig in to your brand, Unitus, and what led you to create that. But before we do, and I know this is part of the origin story of this, it's really sort of a wild story. You went mega viral for a stand that you took. And this particular stand was one that you had a lot of supporters for. There were people who didn't agree. Take us through sort of the moment, the refusal to kneel, that really kind of landed us where we are today.
Man, I've talked about this so much and have told this story so much that I truly, really do have like fatigue of rehashing it and bringing it back up. But I was talking to a friend of mine and he asked me this question. He said, "Man, are you kind of tired of talking about it?" And I said, "Yo, I really am." But what's so interesting to me is that if you take away everything, you take away the Black Lives Matter aspect of it. You take away, just like the polarizing factor of it. The stand is simply about saying Christ is the answer. He's the answer then, and he's still the answer now. And it only made it viral because of obviously what it was going through. And there's going to be cultural pressures that come up 5 years from now, 1 year from now. There's going to be moments where we as Christians are going to have to stand on the word of God and say, I see what the world is saying, but I'm going to choose what God is saying, regardless of the backlash, regardless of the, the flack that I'll get from it. And so even though I am a bit like fatigued of like rehashing the story, it really does have significance no matter what time you're in. Even though it was 5 years ago, it's still, to me at least, in my own life, it still rings true to God. I see what the world is doing. I see what the world is saying. And in that specific moment, it was simply saying, look, I see the issue. I saw what happened to George Floyd. I see the problem. But I believe that the answer is the gospel of Jesus Christ that penetrates the hearts of men, which is the starting point of everything that we struggle with and, on our planet. Past racism, past just every little thing that we hate about life, culture, all that stuff. It comes from us, and so what changes us? The gospel, like it's changed me, and that's what I've kind of been resting on is the answer.
No, and I love your answer to it because it has to be exhausting to have a story like that, and you just kind of want to move on because you're doing a million other things and talk about the other things, and yet I think the other thing about your story in that moment is that a lot of people are afraid to take a stand, right? A lot of people, they feel or they believe something, a lot of Christians even, they know something is right or wrong, and yet they can't bring themselves to do what you did in that moment or to take that public stand because they're really afraid of what man is going to say. They're afraid of what other people will say. They're afraid of losing their jobs, right? And some of that is easing a little bit in society. I think people are feeling a little more free to speak up. But that part of your story, I think, is timeless, and your willingness to do that, that to me rings true for a lot of different issues, not just the one that you were sort of taking a position on at that time. I don't know if you want to reflect on that at all, but I think that part is important just to even encourage people maybe who are afraid to take a stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, what makes mine, unique was the big cultural piece of it. Race played a huge factor in that. And like I said, there's going to be other things that play big factors in other moments of our lives. But at the end of the day, we have to be encouraged as believers to do what we feel led to do. And that was me in that moment. I'm saying, God, I see everything that I'm up against. I see the reality of the situation and I'm terrified. But I believe that you're calling me to do something and to take a stand in a certain way. And I can't sit with that. I can't just bypass that and do what feels comfortable to me. And that's what that's what happened.
Yeah. And I want to talk about Unitus in a second here. When you think about the times in your life where you haven't maybe listened to God, maybe you felt a prompting, you've maybe gone the other way, and then you think about that moment and other moments where you have listened, what lessons have you learned in terms of just where your life will go when you lean into what God is pushing you toward?
Oh man, that's a fantastic question. There's so many things. I think, it's like I was reading Joseph, the story of Joseph last night, and the thing that I didn't catch that Joseph said was he said that God led me there. When he was talking about the fact that his brothers casted him into the pit, he was like, "You guys didn't do that. like that was God. God led me there for a specific purpose and a reason. And we have these moments in our lives where we feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, and tough to make a decision. It's tough to refrain from temptation. It's tough to do what we know is right, but we have to trust and know that God has a plan and a purpose through it, and that if you can see it through, then you'll get to the place where say, "Oh God, I see exactly what you were doing. I see exactly why that happened." And a difficult time in my life was the injuries, that I had to sustain after standing in the bubble. And now looking back, I'm going, God, I see how you were trying to build me. I see how you were building my character. I see how you were shaping me and molding me to be healthy now and still be in the NBA. So I'd say the first thing is that God always has a plan. If he's asking you to do something, he knows why. And it's ultimately usually for your benefit, for your growth, or from a broader standpoint, for the kingdom of heaven, for other people to know him more. And then it's just you growing in your faith. When you take a step out and you see God come through for you, your faith is strengthened. Your obedience is strengthened. So it's just, I would say those two things. No, God has a plan and a purpose, but then what it does in you, what it creates in you, the byproduct that it creates in you is strength and faith, and a deeper relationship and connection to God.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then also with your injuries, parting ways with Nike and then moving forward and really creating your own sneaker and then growing into a line, Unitus. I mean, you have this incredible brand that, is faith forward, and you created this out of that, these moments of difficulty and struggle and pain. And yet God leads us on this journey. So tell us, for those who don't know, tell them a little bit about Unitus and what you're trying to accomplish through this brand.
Yeah, that's an amazing segue with just what you said. So having a difficult situation, not knowing why God is taking me through this moment of tearing my ACL, having a really devastating, not just a painful injury, but a devastating injury to the career of, historically of two NBA players. A lot of guys don't come back, half of themselves, when they go through something like that. And so to have that happen, because of that, lose, a sponsorship with a company like Nike, and then go to my pastor and say, "Hey, Nike dropped me. When I get back from this injury, I'll probably either try to go back with them or try to find another brand." And for him to say, "You should create your own sneaker," and not knowing that this is all a part of God's plan. And so that's what we did. We went down the road of creating my own sneaker called the Judah 1. It was the first NBA signature sneaker with physical Bible verses on the outside for everybody to see. And I wore them in the NBA. And that turned into why not just do that for me? Why not create an entire, sports and apparel brand where we are helping people stay connected to Christ and stay connected to each other, bring the word of God with them in their everyday lives. And we've seen tremendous just support of people who get the vision, who are wearing the sneakers in basketball games, who are wearing the shoes to walk around in and really just enjoy in their everyday lives and have these touch points of seeing our logo, seeing our name, and seeing the verse and going, I'm connected, I'm locked in, God is with me and for me, and just, moving forward.
I love that. And we're going to talk more about that in a moment. But I do have to ask you, when you had that injury and you were going through recovery on that, how scared were you that you would never play again? And how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely went through a depression just because it was so quick, because the game before was the game that I stood. And that's like a piece of the story that a lot of people forget. I stood one game. The next game I decided to stand again, and that game I tore my ACL. And so I'm going from this place of God, I am depending on you. I'm trusting you. I believe that this is you leading me in a certain direction. And then, the bottom falls out and I tear my ACL, and I'm mad at God. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Why is this happening to me? And then we talked about how out of that became all of these, amazing things, but through it was really difficult. If I didn't have my wife, if I didn't have my pastor at the time, if I didn't have, my church family, their support and their love and encouragement to keep going and see what God is up to, don't miss it, and to stay the course, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here with you today. And so I'm grateful for that and glad that God is just by His grace has seen me through for sure.
No, I love that. And it's such a lesson in trust too. Like when you're going through that valley to keep trusting, because here you are talking, not only are you still playing, you're talking about this brand and you have all these great products. I love the fact that the sneakers have Bible verses on them, that they're super comfortable, that people can enjoy not just wearing good quality, clothing and sneakers, but also have that reminder of their faith. That seems like it was something that was really important to you to make sure you had that, this sort of connective tissue to faith for the people wearing your products.
Yeah, we have so much stuff coming at us all the time, from the stuff that's on TV, the stuff that's on the news, the things we can't even avoid if we wanted to, just the world, that's all around us, that's not Christ-like or even desiring to be. So having these touch points that kind of revert your mind and kind of help you stay on track has been amazing for me, just in my my personal life. When I see the logo, when I see the name, when I see the shoes, it's a reminder to me of who I am, what it is that I'm doing, and ultimately, where my desires should be. And so when I'm wearing the fortress that say, "He who honors God, God will honor," it's a reminder to me I want to live in a way that honors God. And thank God for his grace that it still covers me even when I don't. And so just those touch points. And then there's obviously, also the connection to other people that you see wearing the brand and just the brand being celebrated. So
I love that. How do you choose which verses you're going to put on the sneakers? I would imagine there's a process to that. Like what goes into that?
Just what makes sense. So the first Judah one that dropped, there was 5 different colorways. And really, I just kind of sat down, and my pastor also helped a great deal of like, what verses speak to me? And so my middle name is Judah. There's a Judah on the side of the Judah one, and Judah's a lion. The Bible says that Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And so my favorite verse has always been Proverbs 28:1, which says the righteous are as bold as lions. And so that's on one of the Judah one colorways. So just stuff like that. What speaks to me? There's a bunch of I'm not going to try to remember right now because we've got so many. But there's another one that is it's a low top Judah one called Spotless that has Psalms 51:7 on it. Cleanse me, Lord, make me as white as snow. Just stuff like that.
I love that. Where do you want to see Unitus in? And I mean, this is like the age old question, right? But in 5 years, where do you want to see the brand? Where do you want to be?
There's not really a marker for me in terms of like brand potential or what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do is more of a personal thing. If the brand stands for what I believe, what we set out for it to stand for, which is connecting people to Christ and to each other, if that is still the message, and if more people are embracing that in 5 years, it's an absolute win for me. So not so much like hey, I want to see Unitus on billboards and in lights so much. Of course we would love that, but I want to see our mission permeating throughout culture, permeating throughout Christians everywhere.
I love that. And you've got activewear. There's so much stuff that people can grab. Where can they go to do that?
They can head to weareunitus.com. We are UNITUS. You can check us out on Instagram, myself, the We Are Unitus page. And I say before you buy anything, look into us. Look into why we're doing what we're doing, our mission, our backstory, and then get into what you would love to wear.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more Christ-centered journalism.